Okay, so let's see an example of a genetics problem in which codominance is occurring. So, of course, we're going to talk about the blood types. So remember, there are four different blood types. There's AB, and O in humans. And this is determined by three alleles. So remember in the lecture segment that this is actually an example of codominance and an example of multiple alleles. So instead of two alleles, there are three alleles for blood typing. Now these are going to be located on chromosome 9, which really isn't that important. So here we have the genotype, or the allele, right? So we have I superscript A, that represents the allele for the A type. I superscript B, which is the allele for the B type. You notice that the A and B are capitalized, so that means they are both dominant. So they're equally dominant over, and codominant, right? So that's the term for it, codominant over I, or lowercase I. So lowercase I is going to be what an individual, if they have type O blood, they're going to have two lowercase i's for their genotype. Now let's see some examples here. So we have a couple scenarios, right? So we have a father with type B blood and a mother with type A blood. And here you're supposed to determine the genotypes of the parents, the exact genotype of the parents. And here you're given some information. Basically, a mating between the two, they have 4 children and children of all 4 blood types. So how can that happen? So if you look at it, we have type A and type B. I always start with a Punnett square and fill in as much as I know already. So we know the father is type B, but we don't really know the exact genotype because remember B is dominant. And the mother is type A, and again, we do not know the exact genotype because again, A is codominant to B. But they produce children with all 4 blood types. So that means they have a child, right, that is O. So how can they both generate a child that is O? You want to kind of think about that, right? So if they have a child that's O, right, you can't put O here because that you have all the capital letters, right? So this is going to cross here, okay, and then B, okay, and then somehow they have an O child. So the only way that they can produce an O child is if they're both heterozygotes. Okay, so the father must be this, and the mother must be this. Okay, so that's another relatively simple example. Now let's look at the next one. We have a father that's type AB, so we know the whole genotype. It can't be any other way other than capital A, capital B, right? And the mother's type B blood. Okay, so we don't really know her genotype, but let's look at what other information we're given. So they produce 25% type A, 25% type AB, and 50% type B. So if we try to fill this in to make this scenario, we can do this, right? So we have AB, so that's the AB. Okay, so that one's done. And then we have the B. Okay, so that's one of the B's. How do we get an A? Okay, so the mother must be a heterozygote in order to produce this right here. And then, of course, we have the other B. Okay, so that would be the heterozygote. So now let's check it. 25% A. Yep, 1 out of the 4 is A. And then we have 25% AB. Okay, so this is a B right here, and A, whatever. So yes, we have that. And then 50% B. So this is a B and this is a B. Awesome. We figured it out, right? So now we know what the genotypes of the, well, we already knew what the father is. And then the mother must be a heterozygote in order to get that child that has the A-type blood. Now let's look at C. Of course, we're going to start out with a Punnett square. All right, so both parents have type A blood. All right, so we have A. Let's put the line there because we don't really know the exact genotype because there's two possible genotypes. Well, 75% of their children have type A blood and 25% have type O. So how do they get that old child? It's very similar to the example in A. So in order to have a child that has type O blood, they both must carry that recessive allele. So this must be the case, right? So then we can just fill this out. Okay, so we've got 75% A and then 25% O. All right, so both parents must be a heterozygote.